Okay, it being 5:30 on Monday, June 15th, I'll call to order this meeting of the Shelburne Select Board. We do have a quorum with Rod McBride and myself. The first item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes of the June 1st meeting. I have reviewed them. I found one minor typo, but nothing that changed the in content of the minutes. Rod, yourself?
The only thing I found was call to order that my name wasn't listed as present when we started.
Oh,
That was the only thing I saw.
Uh,
um,
oh, it says call to order. Rick LaPierre called the meeting to order at 5:30. Others
Yeah.
present, select board members Rod McBride and Andrew Baker.
Oh, I don't see Rod McBride on mine. I'm sorry.
It's on the first, just under
Yeah.
the header at the top.
Huh. Okay. Then I I see no changes then.
Okay. A motion to accept as presented,
I make a motion we accept minutes as presented.
and I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Rod?
Aye.
And I am I. The motion passes 2-0-0. Andrew has joined us. Andrew, we just approved the minutes as submitted moments ago from our June 1st meeting. Next on the agenda is appointments. First is at 5:45, so we'll go down to liaison reports. Who'd like to begin with anything they have this evening?
I attended a FERCog meeting Wednesday, discussing
let that be just, you can't even hear the
emergent
sound. I'd like to hear it.
emergency management, in reference to trying to get an ambulance service, and had various discussions on it. And I didn't realize that we were in such dire needs of another ambulance service here, but evidently we do.
And that about
They
okay.
no decisions were made on what to do, but they're certainly discussing trying to get a West County ambulance service in effect.
Yep, good. All
Other than
right.
that, I have nothing.
I don't have any this evening either. Andrew, yourself?
Don't know.
Okay. That brings us to old business. Pocket Park, installation of stone benches. Andrew?
Yeah, I met with Johanna this afternoon and with a landscaping person that she works with called Jeltsin, and was able to get another quote from Jeltsin, uh, and went back and just minutes ago have reconnected with our first quote, which was from Brent Steele, and have reconfirmed his interest in doing the project. So we have two quotes in front of us. Johanna has a clear understanding of what our timeline is, and so where we left it is I'm just waiting for her to post me on when the stone is actually cut and available. So we did agree to um, reduce the width of the 6 foot slabs from 28 to 24 inches. I think all of the landscapers that we talked to seemed like to feel like that was a appropriate size for the benches that would essentially cover the surface of the Jersey barriers. And so that's where it is. We don't have an installation timeline until we have actual stones available to be installed. So as soon as we know that they're on site, we have landscapers who are available to do that project. So I guess at this point, if you want a recommendation on moving ahead, I recommend that we move ahead with Brent Steele since he offered the more affordable quote and is ready to do the project when the stone is available.
And the second quote was substantially higher, or
Yeah,
okay,
it was about 3 times higher.
okay. Terry, what do we need to do on that as far as um, awarding it? It was in, what did you tell me? In the neighborhood of 1,000, was it, Andrew?
Yeah,
So that doesn't need to go to bid or anything.
no,
No, and it would be good to have Brent submit his proposal in writing so that we can encumber the funds.
yeah, yeah. I told him I would follow up in writing and so I can get that from him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our next meeting is the 29th.
29th.
So it's still in June. We can receive that quote and act on it then.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Andrew, for doing that. Old business, item B, disposition of town-owned tax title properties. I met last week with the town administrator, the assessor clerk, I guess, is that her proper title? Karen's
Assistant assessor.
assistant assessor, and our treasurer, and went over the process for municipalities to liquidate tax title property. Angel reached out to our tax title attorney, who gave us a nice outline of the process, which both of you got in your packet. And as you saw, the first step in that is that the select board must appoint an individual as custodian. And in most cases, that custodian is a town official that has knowledge of the property, and it is usually the treasurer. So at that meeting last week, we discussed that, and everyone agreed that that was the right way to go. Angel has agreed to take that task on as our town treasurer, and our tax title attorney provided the wording for a motion to make that happen through his experience as well, and that is in your packet. Any comments, discussion, or a motion? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that we appoint Angelina J. Bragdon, Town of Shelburne Collector of Taxes and Treasurer, as tax possession custodian, who shall have the care, custody, management, and control of all property acquired by foreclosure, deed in lieu of foreclosure, by treasurer's deed or legislative act for unpaid taxes, and who shall facilitate the sale or tax possession property under Mass General Law, Chapter 60, Section 77B.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. Rod?
Aye.
Andrew?
No.
I am aye. Motion passes 2 yes, 1 no, 0 abstention. The next step in that process will be Angel, as custodian, will now reach out to the 2 recommended municipal property auction companies in the state, highly recommended by our tax title attorney and other town administrators across the state that have used these 2 companies, and get proposals and information of how they work, etc. And that'll come before us at another time. New business. Shelburne Grange, regarding the July 4th parade permit request. You have that in your packet. Obviously, it's for July 4th. Parade will start at 11 at the old Buckland Maintenance Yard on Conway Street. Parade will start at 12 noon and proceed down Conway Street onto Ashfield Street in Buckland, cross the bridge, and proceed through Shelburne as it always does, ending around 12:30 at the elementary school. Do I have a motion to approve this permit?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Been
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Rod,
Aye.
Andrew,
Yes.
and I am yes. Motion passes 3-0-0. The next new business item B, Incandescent Brewing, a one-day beer and wine request for August 9th and September 16th. These are also at the Apex Orchard, as were the ones that we received last week from a different company. So there are the two before you that cover those dates. All their documentation for tips on premises, certificate of liability is all in order. Any questions, comments, or motion?
So moved.
Second.
She's already
Been moved. Somebody speaking, could you mute your computers, please? So it has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. Rod,
Aye.
Andrew,
Yes.
and the motion, I am yes. The motion passes 3-0-0 to approve the pour permits for Incandescent Brewing. Item C, Porch Fest, Sunday, July 12th this year, beginning at 11 a.m., ending at 6 p.m. This is just about to start my fourth year on the board, and will be the fourth time I've had this group put this request in. It's a heck of an event. It's always properly run and well received, and people really enjoy it. So we haven't had any complaints that I'm aware of anything in any regard for the Porch Fest. Comments, questions, or motion?
Making a motion, we approve this Porch Fest application.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Porch Fest for Sunday, July 12th, and the annual permit is waived for the associated fee. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. Rod,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I am aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. And we've got 2 minutes before our first appointment, so we can finish up new business. Item D, our tree warden, Garth Lapointe, has submitted a letter stating that he is not accepting reappointment to that role for fiscal year 27. My understanding is he had a couple of things going, perhaps in the patent district or somewhere in town, that he would wrap up during this fiscal year, and doesn't care to continue in the role beyond that as of July 1st. So I would think we would want to accept his resignation, I guess, would be the right word, with thanks for what he has done for, I can't remember, did he serve more than last year?
No, just 1 year.
1 year term. It's a lot for sure, as is almost every obligation when you pick up work for the town. But appreciate what he did, and think we accept that with our thanks.
One question, Rick. Just from your comment there about him being not accepting appointment, but that is an elected position, isn't it?
Correct. And he has refused, or he has chosen not to accept.
Right. No, I just wanted to clarify for anybody who might want to replace him that it's an elected position.
It is. However, at this point, um, we should look at getting the word out that that position is available. And in your packet is the job description. And we're hoping that the board would be in favor of uh, asking the Two-Town News to publish this request to see if anyone is interested, any Shelburne resident is interested in stepping forward and filling that role for appointment by the select board, um, and put it on our website as a position that's available, just to get the word out and see if we can find somebody with some qualifications. There are some names that have been floated and they've been reached out to, but nothing nailed down at this point. Um, so I think that's one thing we should do. The second thing we should probably do is think about next meeting appointing a temporary tree warden until we can find someone willing to step in on a permanent basis. And Rod has indicated interest in that. And we think that's a possibility as a short-term temporary option that wouldn't be in conflict, but it's going to be worthy of looking into. That's pretty much everything I know about on this matter.
Great.
Andrew.
I just have a couple of questions, maybe Terry can answer. One is, since it is an elected position, and the term has not actually started yet, does the term start July 1st or after the town election?
The term typically starts after the individual's been sworn in, so following the town election.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just wondering about the mechanics of appointing somebody to fill a vacancy of an elected position that hasn't really even, the term hasn't even started yet. Do we hold a special election or can the select board actually fill that vacancy by appointment even though it's elected?
They can fill the seat by appointment.
Okay. And second question is, does the person accepting an appointment for a vacancy like that need to be a Shelburne resident or not?
They would have to run for reelection. So yeah, that would be a requirement that they would be from Shelburne. In the interim, I don't know if it would be required.
In the interim for the 1 year, no, it would not be required.
Okay. Um, so yeah, I guess I would recommend we would brainstorm some names and review hopefully a list of possible candidates at an upcoming meeting.
I would agree. Are you in agreement as a board to post the qualifications, the duties of this position on the website at this point, and that we are looking for people to fill this role come July 1st?
Sure. Yeah, and I would, well, if you want to put it in the Two-Town News, the Two-Town News comes out on July 1st. So the notice would be it would not be relevant at that point if you were trying to fill it at that point.
I don't think we're in a position where we need to fill it yesterday.
Okay.
We have somebody willing to do it on a very short-term temporary basis. And if it took us to the end of July or whatever to find somebody who was willing to take it on, then that's not a big deal.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'd
So
like
why don't we just say we'll fill the position when we find a candidate or something like that?
on or after July 1st.
Yeah.
Right. Great. So Rod, are you also in agreement? We should post it and put it in the Two-Town?
Yeah, I had one thought of, should we change that from an elected to a appointed position?
I don't think we can do that as a select board.
Yeah. It's a town meeting vote to change the status of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
food for thought for a year from now or 11 months from now, roughly. But all right, so we don't need a vote on that. Just have a consensus to go ahead with the posting of that document, Terry.
Well, if you want a motion tonight to appoint Rod as an interim tree warden, I don't have an objection to that. I would make that motion.
I would second that motion.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded then.
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. Andrew?
Yes.
And I am yes. And Rod, you can vote for yourself, but probably want to abstain.
I'll abstain, yes.
The motion passes 2-0-1. And thank you for stepping up and putting
As
your
long as it's noted that it's short term.
short-term temporary. It's
Yes,
I checked to make sure that that was within our purview to do since you
okay.
are. So
Well, I would say that, Rod, one little project, if you're willing to take it on, which I think would help move the wheels forward, might be to connect with our surviving members of our tree committee, which I think is Brock Cutting, who's a landscape architect who lives in town. Do you
Yep,
know
I have
Brock?
his number here.
Oh, do you know Brock?
I know who he is, and
Okay.
I
I was
found
just thinking that if he were to be twigged, so to speak, to the disappearance of our downtown street trees, which he helped to, spec and put in place in terms of selecting the varieties, that if he were to weigh in on that, that might get our wheels turning on putting funding in place to replace those trees.
okay, I will reach out to him.
great. Thank you both very much. It's 5:52. We're a few minutes past our scheduled appointment with Sheriff Laurie Streeter to discuss the proposed behavioral health response program. The select board members have in front of them the letter from Detective Jenkins giving us a quick overview on this, but let's turn it over to the appointment requester. Is she here? Yes. Lori? Her mic's not on. Hopefully her speaker is. Lori, are you there? Might have stepped away for a minute.
I think she might have been having problems with her audio.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get a hold of her.
All right. Chris, you're from your office as well?
Hi,
Yes,
there are
I
a
am.
few of us here. Unfortunately, yes, we're getting text messages say that there's a microphone issue on Sheriff Laurie Streeter's end, but there are a few of us from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office here, and we'd be happy to step in and support this while the microphone issue gets resolved. So I'm Nicole Gurton. I'm the Chief of Staff over at the Sheriff's Office. You were speaking just A.S. Pelletier, Assistant Superintendent Chris Pelletier is on the call, as well as Superintendent Jason Kilgore. And I believe our General Counsel, Dan Montagna, is also on the line. So there's quite a few of us to represent if there are questions. Sounds like you have a proposal, so you may be a bit familiar with this. But really, we wanted to highlight that this was a need that came to us via Chief Bardwell. He approached us mentioning that there seems to be a gap in services in the community regarding mental health response. And the sheriff, as always, wanted to step in and say, if there's a way that I can be responsive to any identified community gap, I'd happily step in and do so, or at least propose an opportunity that we may be able to partner and work together. So again, thank you for inviting us here for this opportunity to talk to you. And we just wanted to reiterate, this is all just a proposal that if this is something that meets your needs, if this is something that you would like to pursue, we'd be happy to talk further. But these were kind of our initial thoughts, again, in response to what Detective Jenkins and Chief Bardwell brought to us. What we were looking at, and the behavioral health response program is really to be named. We can determine exactly how we want to call this program, but it would be a program where we would have a clinician, so behavioral health, licensed mental health clinician or licensed social worker, and a care coordinator, a case manager, caseworker that is already on our staff, respond as a follow-up to law enforcement calls that were meeting a certain criteria developed through collaboration with the PD, and support the community residents that may be having some type of behavioral health concern that isn't really requiring the level of acute crisis intervention, because we know that there's already a crisis response program. We know that there's already emergency services programs out there that would do evaluations, do Section 12s if indicated, and the police also indicated that they really have a strong grasp of that type of acute care already. The need, what they were looking at, is this bridge between this law enforcement response and ongoing community mental health care that would be taking within the resources already within your community. We wouldn't be providing that ongoing consistent care, but we would be bridging that gap between the call and the response to then that ongoing support for the individual. So this could look like a mental health concern. This could look like substance use that was indicated as a concern. It could look like a senior at risk. Any type of navigation of resources that maybe the individual is already having trouble identifying or connecting to, something like food scarcity that likely exists, but perhaps they need a little bit of support or guidance to receive that. So what we would do is we'd go out within, say, 72 hours of a call coming in from the PD saying that this individual seems to be at need some type of concern. We would go out with our clinician and our care coordinator. They would assess the situation, determine if there is a significant need, what that need might be, and work collaboratively with the resident to see what we could do to support that and create that kind of plan for ongoing care. This would all be entirely voluntary. It's something that anyone would be able to decline. There is no kind of coercion with any type of care that we would ever represent. It would really just be an offering of services of guidance. Our clinicians are already trained in how to go out and do this type of care. These are staff that we already have. Same with our care coordinators that work in the community that, again, already know how to navigate these kind of care resources, how to make referrals, how to access whether that's medical care for an ongoing chronic condition, whether that's behavioral health care through one of our health clinics. They'd already know how to do this and are already equipped. We are already providing these services to many individuals in the community already throughout Franklin County. So what we'd be doing is really, rather than duplicating services or kind of trying to, again, meet a crisis need, we'd really be looking to extend the level of care that's available within your communities and really make that more accessible for any resident that might be having any sort of challenges with that. We would look at data sharing. We are looking at the SIMS system, which is already used for overdose responses. It's a critical incident stress management system that already is utilized by police departments to, again, kind of record and then look at what follow-up services are needed. That's already being utilized for overdose tracking. So we'd be looking at same type of information and data sharing system. It would all, of course, be HIPAA compliant, all the regulations around privacy concerns. Again, this is kind of a world that we already recognize and deal within. So we'd, of course, be able to accommodate that with any sort of electronic health record system. And we'd also then be evaluating and through that data able to track our responses and able to track the effectiveness of this program. Are these connections being made? Are we being able to support referrals? Are we being able to support the residents access the kind of care or services that they're looking for? So that, I think, is kind of the elevator pitch to all of this. And I think we'd all be happy to answer kind of more specific or targeted questions or concerns or thoughts that you might have on something of this nature.
Well, that's a boatload of information that's way out of our normal purview, but what a great thumbnail sketch you made of a complicated, in-depth, multifaceted undertaking. And all I can say is the Police Services Advisory Committee has been filled in on our department's interest in pursuing this with you folks, and had full support to proceed. We'd had a couple of updates, and this really brings it into the mainstream discussion now of information, and thank you for that. If my members have a question, we'll take it. Otherwise, if they don't, and you have another member that would like to speak, fill in a point or whatever, you're welcome to as well. But Andrew, any comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you for coming and thank you for making this offer to us. It sounds pretty comprehensive. I do have a couple of questions. You touched on it being voluntary and people being able to decline the services recommended or offered, um, and I'm just curious to kind of get more of a picture of how this might service might kind of get triggered or accessed, So if I have, if I'm uh, feeling a little bit unsure of my own mental state, would I place a call to somebody to say I think I need help, or if I had a neighbor who I thought was acting oddly, would I call somebody and say my neighbor's acting a little oddly in the morning, And how does this work,
I think we could certainly explore that type of kind of either self or neighborly referral process. What we were looking at is an officer would respond out and they would see something there that kind of concerns them. And again, that can be any number of different symptoms or presentations. And they would say, I really wish that someone come out and follow up with this person and just make sure that they're okay. And that's kind of outside of the scope of traditional police work, or maybe just outside of the scope of what they have in that moment to be able to offer. So what they would do is they would put in a referral to our clinician and caseworker through that SIM system that says there's an individual at this home that presented in this capacity that I think would best benefit from some type of behavioral health clinical response. Ideally, the officer would do some sort of like soft kind of work right then and there to say, someone's going to follow up with you. These would be the individuals that might be coming out. This is what they would be doing. They'd be here for this purpose, for this goal, to support you in whatever way that they can. We develop cards or little brochures, kind of pamphlets to say who we are and what we're all about, so that they'd have an idea that then someone would be coming out. From there, we would come out in person. We could try to reach the person by phone too, any number of different ways of contact. And from there, the person would be welcome to not answer the door, not answer the phone, answer and say no, thank you. Honestly, that would be probably my biggest concern, is that we'd be having multiple people say no, thank you, when we know that there's really an avenue of support here that's possibly needed. In those cases, in the work that I've done prior, I am an LICSW. This is work that I've been doing in the community for over a decade now. And there's always another opportunity. There would be another way that we would be trying to engage them, whether that would be another call through the PD, or again, other types of neighbors concerned, or the individual themselves might ultimately decide, this is perhaps something that would benefit me. But that's what we'd really be looking for, is the police to identify a concern, and then for us to receive that information, follow up, provide some type of intervention, whatever that need is presenting, and then let the police know that this is something we're able to make contact with. We were able to do an intervention to hopefully get this person towards this targeted service. Again, not an overly detail. We would obviously be mindful of the individual's privacy. We would not be trying to overly share details, but at least we'd be able to tell the police that yes, there is a plan, there is a response that was made, and this individual would be receiving some type of care. Ideally, we do know that there's often high utilizers of these types of services. They're individuals that for other reasons aren't getting their needs met in maybe traditional avenues. And so they are relying heavily on law enforcement or emergency departments or other type of acute emergency care. What we'd really want to do is work with those individuals to be able to receive those services in not such an acute crisis-driven manner, but really kind of in a thoughtful way that engaged them with where they were at.
Great. One just follow-up question. You use the term behavioral health and mental health. Are those synonymous in your mind, or they represent sort of different spheres of potential engagement?
There is, I would say, a nuanced difference. Mental health, I would say, would be a very smaller scope of targeted intervention towards a mental illness or acute mental capacity concern, whereas behavioral health would be that overarching umbrella term that encompasses really any behavioral habit, action that impacts someone's physical or mental well-being.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
And I do apologize. I think Sheriff Streeter is still trying to work with the microphone issue to be able to speak to you directly about this. I'm just speaking on her behalf at this moment, so I do apologize that you're getting me instead of her. But please
Not
know
at
that
all.
she's trying and wants to absolutely again be responsive to all of you.
If I may just step in, I know that some of you folks on the board might be questioning, how does this differ than the crisis, the clinical support options discussion that we've had in past, and some of the policies and procedures that I had brought forth to the board about that. This is going to be approached differently. We found that there's a gray area that we often come about on certain types of calls that don't warrant some sort of expeditious, immediate crisis intervention, where somebody might have lost somebody tragically and is having an issue that way that they need some follow up on, or children have been taken out of a home, or food is an issue, heating, things like this. It's more or less a proactive, compassionate helping hand, leveraged with experienced clinicians, caseworkers, and a support staff that we don't readily have available on a day-to-day basis.
If I'm not mistaken, this collaboration between our local police department and the Franklin County Sheriff's Office is a little unique, not an everyday thing, right? And if that's the case, hats off to you and Tucker for bringing that forward, and to the Sheriff's Office for being receptive to join in and do another good deed to help folks who may need it. Rod, any questions or comments from you?
No, everything has been answered that I was thinking of.
Very good. Tucker, you brought this as well. Any comment from yourself?
No, I don't think so. I think everything that Chief Bardwell and Nicole touched on is everything we've been looking into. Bridging the gap is something that's huge, and we see every single day from a policing function, and it's desperately needed in our community. So we're really thankful to Sheriff Streeter. She's and her staff. They've been absolutely fantastic. So we're really appreciative for the work that they do, not just in this avenue, but also with, animal control and everything they do to help our communities. So we're really thankful for their partnership.
Terrific. So is there anything that we need to do officially, Terry?
That would come from Nicole or Sheriff Streeter. I don't know at this point.
As you develop how this will work and when it'll start, just keep us posted, and whatever you need from us, bring it to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and thank you, Chief. Thank you, Detective. If there's anything else, if I misrepresented in any way and you'd like to add more, please do, because I really appreciate all of your thoughtfulness on this subject.
No, I think it's been great, and we look forward to hopefully making this come to fruition.
Great. Well, thank you very much for the information tonight.
Thank you for your consideration. We look forward to discussing it further.
Perfect. Okay, that brings us to any other business. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is June 29th. And we also have one other late arrival item. We received a communication from, what's his title? Somebody at Greenfield Savings Bank. And they are requesting or asking if the town would allow them to designate 8 of the parking spaces in the lot behind their building on Bridge Street to the exclusive use of bank staff. They're making this request due to apparently a couple of their people have had cars get dinged or damaged somehow while parked out there. This is something that, back when I was on the planning board in another lifetime, parking downtown has been an issue and remains that. And it's just, uh, we have multiple lots, but they're small. And to take 8 spaces out of that during the workday to give them exclusively to one business on Bridge Street would definitely precipitate a similar request, I'm sure, from the rest of the businesses backed up along the town. It's not something that I can see is a reasonable request, but I will say that back again during my planning board days, a decade or more or two ago, we had a very strong local business association, and all of the business owners were members, and we would have meetings, and it was discussed that you can't do business without people coming to your stores, and all the businesses were urged to have their employees park in the lower lot on Deerfield Avenue or Cross Street to free up. And asking to take 8 out of the parking lot right behind the buildings seems kind of counter to what we have tried to ask people to do who have businesses with multiple staff, is to not use those spaces anyway. So that's my 2 cents. Rod or Andrew, any comments?
Well, Rick, I would say, having served on the business association as their staff person for that same period of time many decades ago, and conducted those parking studies and made the rounds with those same recommendations, I'm in full agreement with you. And I would just add one, and I think we would be opening a can of worms if we were to set this precedence. With the Keystone lot, which is really the only major piece of parking available to the downtown business district. And I would just second it with a note saying I went to the recent concert in Memorial Hall on Saturday, which was very well attended. I think they sold out, and the town was parked up and down the street and all the way up the street. And so I went looking for a place to put my car because I was driving in from out of town, and I happened into the cross street lot, and lo and behold, there was only 1 or 2 cars there. So, even when you have a full up event with the town completely parked up, it seems like there's a lot of there's still available parking right nearby, and that's a block and a half away from the Greenfield Savings Bank. So I would highly recommend that as a strategy to the officer who brought this proposal forward.
I would agree. I haven't been to that lot in some time, Andrew. There was construction equipment in there for a long period of time, but it's completely open. All the spaces are open now.
It is open. There are 2 electrical charging spaces there too. So,
Yep.
But otherwise, there's, I think, 10 spaces there.
Rod, do you feel differently or the same?
I am in agreement with you too.
Okay, then we will ask Terry to send a response to Mr. Jim Lloyd, I believe. He is the Vice President of Security and Safety for Greenfield Savings Bank, who reached out to ask if that was a possibility, and give him our regrets that no, this isn't something that we are willing to do at this time. Correspondence, is there any other? We didn't have any in our packet. Is there any that's come in late, Terry?
Just the one that I shared with you this afternoon from John that I responded to.
Yes, but I don't think everybody's seen that. So,
John who?
John Walsh.
John Walsh had
Oh.
asked questions that I responded to.
Okay.
I believe that'll end up in the communications folder in the select board office. We can take a look at that. And if that's the only one, public comment, we are welcome to have anyone who's sitting in comment on anything we've discussed tonight. As you know, the select board isn't in a position to respond or acknowledge other than to thank you for your comments. And we'll listen to them, take them under advisement, if you will. And if there are issues we need to address later, we do it that way. So If anyone has a comment, please put the little hand symbol up. All right, you give us your name and your address and your comment, please.
Tamara Sloan, 51 Water Street, Shelburne. I just want to support what the Sheriff's Department and the other folks brought forward. For the last 2 years until recently, I've been what's called a co-responder, a clinician that rides with the police and it was 11 towns. It was a Department of Public Health grant. And I strongly advocated that the grant that the state gave was a jail and hospital diversion grant, which has its place, but mostly in the hill towns, what I found was the grant expected us to resolve a crisis basically within 24 to 48 hours. And more often than not, by the time 911 was called, these were entrenched issues of concern and lots of them, frankly, elder residents who have a host of issues or hoarding or a caregiver that's exhausted. And these kinds of things you can't really respond to very quickly. Also concerns are, I don't know how many towns they're exploring, including into this proposal. That would be something. And I used to work for CSO, Clinical and Support Options, as well as a clinician. And I know that it's very hard to get clinicians to go far out into our hill towns because they also cover the more urban areas where there's a lot of need as well. So those are questions I would have as to really, I don't think there's enough crisis response to begin with. But also when I was an EMT also in Shelburne, and there are times when the police handle a crisis and they can leave and it's safe for a non-officer to come in. And then there are other times where it's still not safe. And so that's a question I would have as well, is how, if you're sending in clinicians and other folks who do not have any way to defend themselves, what's the security going to be, and can they request officer assistance when they do those responses? So anyway, I'm happy that this is going forward.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have a comment? Go ahead. On the Maya listing there.
Yes, hi, this is Gail Davidson, 14 Highland Village. I want to support also the Sheriff's Initiative. I also wanted to mention that the Mary Lyon Foundation had received off the Opioid Task Force settlement equipment for anybody who is houseless. And I have some of that 24/7. If anybody is houseless, we have tents, we have sleeping bags, we have thermarest, we have backpacks, underwear, socks, and we also have food for anybody who is in danger of not having enough for themselves or their family. So anybody can call me, Gail Davidson, anytime, 24/7, and I will get that equipment and food to them as soon as possible in the West County area.
Thank you very much.
On another note, Rick,
Yeah.
I just sent a late letter, and it was very late because it takes me a long time. I'm not supposed to be in front of screens. I have post-trauma vision syndrome from an awful traumatic brain injury suffered, and it took me about 3 hours to write it. So I'd like to read it to you because it is time sensitive, if that's okay with you.
We offer folks 2 minutes. Is it
okay?
Is it a long
Hello,
one?
Rick, Rodney, Andrew, Terry, and Otis. I appreciate all your time and energy invested in keeping Shelburne residents apprised of the workings of town government. A healthy and thriving town democracy is dependent on the participation of informed residents. I would like the opportunity to once again attend open and in-person select board meetings that are live streamed by Falls Cable. I'm forwarding an email originally sent May 16th to Shelburne Town Administrator Terry Narkowitz, I believe is how she pronounces her name. Imagine my surprise when at the last select board meeting, it was stated that there had been no other requests for in-person select board meetings. I'm requesting in-person select board meetings to be restarted again for June 29th, 2026. I talked with Falls Cable Station Manager Otis Wheeler just now and discovered that Shelburne is the only town that has not returned to in-person select board meetings post-COVID pandemic in all of Franklin County. Otis stated Falls Cable can again start live streaming Shelburne Town Select Board meetings with a 2 weeks notice and are happy to do so. I, like many seniors, do not have access, to consistent, reliable Wi-Fi service and still want to actively participate in town government by attending select board meetings. I, like many others with specific medical conditions, need to be able to see and hear clearly what is being said in select board meetings. I am officially requesting in-person select board meetings under the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act reasonable accommodation provision. I appreciate you listening to this and hearing my request, and I'm always grateful for all the work that everyone on the select board and all town officials do on behalf of Shelburne.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a comment for us this evening? Hearing none, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
And been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. Rod,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I am I. Motion passes
talk
3-0.
Man, what's going on
Thank you
there?
very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Andrew is just not, he feels like he's just pushed over.